Hi there, this is a review for heparin calculations to prepare you for giving heparin in clinical and also for your medication calculation exam. Here we go. As always, I ask you to read the end of the question first. In this case, it's saying how many milliliters will you give for a dose. Heparin is typically rounded to the nearest hundredth value. So we're going to do that. Keep that in mind here. So heparin, my doctor's order is 750 units sub-Q daily. So my doctor's order is 750 units. And what do I have? I have 1,000 units times 1 ml. And remember, even though it's times 1 milliliter, I really like for you to keep that value in there just to hold the placeholder so you don't forget, because sometimes it's in 5 milliliters, right? I'm going to take off 1 0 on each of these because the less buttons you have to push on your calculator, the better chances you have of getting the calculator misfires correct, okay? So I'm going to take 75 and divide that by 100, and I get 0.75. Now it says to round to the nearest hundredth. Remember, this is the 10th value, this is the 100th value. So my final answer is 0.75, and I'm going to write milliliters in there as my final answer, 0.75, okay? My next question is how many milliliters would you give per dose? Round to the 100th. I'm going to desired over half this. My desired is my doctor's order. That's 4,500 units. And what do I have? I'm going to go in here and take a look. I have 10,000. It's a lot of zeros times 1 milliliter. Okay. And again, now I see 2 zeros here, and I'm going to cross off 2 zeros there. So be really careful that you cross off the same amount of zeros so you don't get confused. And I'm going to take 45 and divide that by 100, and that's going to equal 0.45. And again, this is already rounded to the 100th. My answer is 0.45 milliliters per dose. Okay. Next question, milliliters per dose, round to the 100th. Here's my doctor's order. I have 3,500 units. And what do I have in here? Looks like I have 5,000 units times 1 milliliter again. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of 2 of the zeros and 2 of the zeros. So I'm going to take 35 divided by 50, and that equals 0.7. Okay, now it says round to the nearest hundredth, and some students get really confused. They want to put a value here and they want to put a 0 in there. Please don't do that. That's called a trailing 0, and that can be misconstrued as something else. So we're not going to put that 0. So my answer here is going to be 0.7 milliliters. So even though it says round to the 100th, it ends at the 10th. So I'm going to keep it right there. Okay, moving on. Again, how many milliliters will you give for each dose, round to the 100th value? My doctor's order is 4,400 units. And what do I have? I'm going to look in here. I have a couple things. I have 50,005 or 10,001. I'm going to go with the smaller number, 10,000 units times 1 ml. Now these are ratio proportions, so both numbers will work, and we'll check that out. I'm going to first get rid of 2 zeros on the top and 2 zeros on the bottom. So I'm going to take 44 and divide that by 100, and that equals 0.44. And that's my answer, 0.44 milliliters. And I also want to point out that this 4, your comma is not a period. So be careful not to say that's 4.4 divided by 10. Well, 10.0. Those are commas, so make sure that's 44 divided by 100. And I get 0.44 milliliters, but let's go ahead and try that again. If I want to do 4,400 units and divided that, I'm going to use the other just so you can see how awesome math is, because it's so much fun when you really learn math, right? And now it's in 5 milliliters, right? And so 50,000 units in 5 milliliters. So both of these should work. I'm going to get rid of 2 zeros like I did the first time. And now I'm going to do 44 divided by 500, and that's going to equal 0.088. And now I've got to multiply that by 5, and look, lo and behold, the answer is still 0.44 milliliters. So these when the manufacturers give you these ratio proportions, you can use either of them and they'll both work. I prefer to use the smaller one, and that's great, but you really could use either. Just be aware that they will both give you the correct answer. And again, I just want to point out, when you do your math on your MCE, please show your work. Okay, I'd like to see your work. If you do get the answer wrong, we can see where you made your mistake, and it's easier to remediate. Okay. All right, next question. How many milliliters we give per dose? Round to the 100th value. Again, I have my doctor's order of 950 units. And what do I have? I have 1,000 units times 1 milliliter. I'm going to get rid of 1 0 here and 1 0 there. And I'm going to do 95 divided by 100. And that equals 0.95. And that's my final answer. But I should also say that you don't have to eliminate the 0. Just because I like to eliminate the zeros doesn't mean you need to. So you can also do 950 divided by 1000. Just make sure you hit all those zeros in correctly, and then when you hit equal, you get the same answer. Okay, it's just I prefer those are two less calculator possible misfires that could happen. Okay, let's keep going on. How many milliliters will you give for each dose? Round to the 100th. Again, here's my doctor's order. I have 2,500 units. In what volume? I have 10,000 units times 1 milliliter. And again, I'm going to get rid of 2 zeros and 2 zeros. So I'm going to do 25 divided by 100. And I push my calculator buttons really, really carefully here, very mindfully. One button, stop, one button, stop, one button. And I watch the little screen as I'm punching them. 0.25 milliliters. And that is my final answer per dose. Okay. Clear my calculator and move on to the next one. Milliliters will you give for each dose? Round to the 100th value. Here's my doctor's order. I have 2,300 units divided by, what do I have in my vial here? I have 5,000 units times 1 milliliter. I'm going to get rid of 2 zeros on the top and 2 zeros on the bottom. 23 divided by 50. And that equals 0.46. So my final answer is 0.46 milliliters. Okay, make sure you don't round that. All right. How many milliliters will you give for each dose? Round to the 100th value. My doctor's order is 7,500 units. What do I have here? Again, I have two options for my concentration. I'm going to go with the smaller one, which is 10,000 units times 1 milliliter. I'm going to get rid of 2 zeros here and 2 zeros there. I'm going to go to my calculator and I'm just hitting 7, 5, and I look at my screen, 75, and I hit divided by, and I hit 1, I watch my screen, 0, 0. I want to make sure I get all of those numbers in right and hit enter. I know that sounds really strange to say that out loud, but calculator misfires are a real thing, so you want to just go slow. You can even do your calculations twice if you'd like. And when I hit equals, I get 0.75. And that's my final answer, 0.75 milliliters. And again, we don't want to round this up to 0.8. That will be an incorrect answer. You want to be mindful of the 100th value. So you want two values here. The only time you're only going to have one value is if my answer turned out to be 0.7, and that would be my final answer. Okay? Cool. So I hope this cleared up any confusion for heparin calculations. Please know that I am available. You can send me an email, send me a message. We can chat. I love to do math. I hope to offer some math labs very soon to you. If you feel worried and concerned that you're not going to do well on this math, just come and visit me and we can work it out together, okay? Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye-bye.